Good afternoon, cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is the Rebel Files with guest star Janice. Josh had surgery, so last night. The last time I just talked to him, he was doing good, but he had been freed at last. He's been freed at last. And I've talked to him a little bit, and we'll get into some of the stuff. But what we're going to do here is do a trailer breakdown for The Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
Episode 9.
Right. It's not the rise of a Skywalker.
It's
the rise of
Skywalker and not Skywalkers.
Right.
We'll get into that whole theory process in a minute. But
what does it mean?
Yeah, I have a theory. I have several theories. One of my theories actually got proven correctly with a giggle. But we'll get into. It was a maniacal laugh. But we've both watched it. I've watched it several times. I've
watched it several times.
I did a trailer reaction to it earlier. We want to break down specific things that we saw within the trailer.
Yes.
And a little bit of fan theory stuff to go on. But we're not going to talk about everything. There's an A-Wing. BB's got a new friend, Dio.
Which is a blow dryer on a wheel.
Did you watch the live stream and stuff?
Yeah.
So they actually had it on. Somebody built it from the droid. We're going off on a tangent. Okay. The trailer starts off with black fade into the Lucasfilm symbol with Rey breathing very heavy, like she's been running or working or doing some stuff or whatever.
Yep.
And then it fades into her standing in the middle of a desert by herself.
Right.
And her focusing. And like maybe she's been running to something or...
Yeah, well, she's sweaty. Looks like she's been running.
Yeah.
The first thing I notice is, I don't know if this is on here, but the first thing I notice is that she has the lightsaber on her belt.
She has the Skywalker lightsaber. I did do a frame by frame. There is some kind of copper ring in the middle.
Of the hilt?
Of the hilt.
Okay.
So, and she also has...
They had to fix it.
Yeah, they had to fix it somehow. And I'm wondering if it's still the same kyber crystal. That's a whole different conversation.
Depends on whether or not the kyber crystal was broken.
It did look like it was broken in Last Jedi, but the kyber crystal picks the person, and there's a whole thing. But the thing is it's blue, and the Skywalker lightsaber is blue, so that's why we have thoughts. And she also has the blaster on her other hip, that Solo gave to her.
Yes. Yep. So she's got both of her father figures.
Yes. And their weapons, and she's wearing all white. It's the same kind of outfit she's been wearing.
Yep.
As it was kind of gray when we were at Jakku before. We'll get into that in a minute. And then The Last Jedi, it kind of, as the movie went along, it got darker and darker and darker, grayer.
So maybe she has picked her side. She was conflicted, and now she's not.
Fully embraces the light.
Right. One of the things, this is kind of off topic, but one of the things I was telling you, I watched Screen Junkies kind of break down of the trailer a little earlier today, and Roth said, apparently nobody ever changes clothes. Once you pick an outfit, you need to put some thought into it, because that's the outfit you're going to be wearing the whole time. However, I just watched the panel where Finn is like super excited because now he has blue pants.
He talked about it multiple times. Actually, he talked about it. He was on the Star Wars show live later on and talked about how he went to JJ and said, Finn's picking a side. He needs a Resistance outfit. I want blue pants. So, I mean, it was a cool...
So apparently you don't just get stuck with the outfit that you first walked on set in.
We get... a shot of just open desert. You don't see Rey, you don't see anything else. It's kind of panning along, and you hear a TIE fighter, what sounds like a TIE fighter in the background.
Right.
And Rey lights the lightsaber and looks across into the horizon, and there's the TIE Echelon coming at her. TIE Echelon is something brand new that's brought into the galaxy for Kylo. It has to deal with Galaxy's Edge. It's directly tied into Batu and it's been talked about in the Thrawn books. I mean, it is tied into a bunch of different things.
Okay.
And it's freaking amazing. The first thing I said to Josh because we were going back and forth after we had both watched it a couple of times.
Of course.
And as he's sitting in a hospital bed texting me, is I want this as a Lego. I want the Lego TIE Echelon. It's gonna be like this big.
Okay.
I have to have one.
It's
so cool.
I don't know where we're gonna put it in the new place.
There was something else that came out today. The Tatooine. I can't remember what it's called. It's Leia's ship at the beginning of A New Hope.
Oh, right.
They made it in Lego. The first 150 were available on the convention floor today, and that's it until like May 4th.
Okay.
Because what I need is more stuff in my house.
For the rest of us, it was the first thing you hear, other than Luke's voiceover,
we'll get into it in a minute.
is like the first sound you hear in A New Hope. I mean, that if you hear that TIE fighter sound, you instantly think Star Wars.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
While all this is going on, we have this voiceover from Luke, and he says, "We have passed on all we know. 1,000 generations live inside you, but this is your fight." And as you're hearing all of this, they're showing, Rey, and they're showing the Echelon coming in, and then they show Rey running away, and then she does this backflip with the lightsaber, like she's going to cut the Echelon in half. Hero shot, huge boner, nipples are hard. Are you kidding me? And we're 35.
Goosebumps, definitely not the boner thing, but definitely goosebumps. I had a big grin on my face at my desk at work.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we're 35 seconds into the trailer.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It is the money shot. Well, it's the first money shot. But what it looks like, though, is it looks like Jakku.
Yeah, I would buy Jakku. It looks the same.
It's got rocks and sand and desert and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's not Tatooine. I don't think it's Tatooine. Tatooine was just sand. Not that they had mountains and stuff like that, whatever.
Yeah.
But it would make... we'll get into that in a minute.
It very much looks like the same spot that Poe and Finn crashed in.
Right.
Kind of that same area. And it would make sense that... And they've said there's a decent span of time in between the last one and this one for the characters. So she did want to go back. And it would make sense that she go back and at least maybe try to close that up, finish that.
We will get into Jakku and what it means when we get to the giggle.
Okay.
We get Adventure Time, Finn and Poe on whatever we think is Jakku. We get Dio. We get the Falcon jumping into Lightspeed with Lando Calrissian piloting it,
grin on his face,
giggling. Billy D. Williams was on the panel today for episode 9.
Yep.
And he was awesome. And
I told him, he was like, "Oh my God, Billy D. Williams is amazing." And I kept waiting for him to leak something accidentally. And I think JJ and Catherine were waiting.
Right.
I kept waiting for them to just go.
Between him and Anthony Daniels today, I thought something was going to come out. They hinted at something else, but I don't want to get into it because it wasn't part of the trailer. That's a whole different conversation today about the panel. But having Billy D, everybody was wondering who was going to be in the Falcon piloting it, and it would make complete sense that it's Billy D.
Why would people be wondering that? Of course it's going to be Billy D. It was his ship.
It's of course it's going to be Lando. Of course it's going to be go back to him and stuff. But the big thing too is they showed a screenshot of this jungle planet with everybody outside the Falcon.
Yes.
And so that one too kind of makes me have some questions and stuff. We get Leia looking at a hero's medal that they gave to Luke and Han. And I believe it's probably Han's medal and her remembering.
Or it could be Luke's.
It could be Luke's. It could be either one. But she has an emotional connection. She's using this as an emotional connection to her brother and her husband, and having a moment of reflection and stuff.
Is that the one where she's hugging?
That's the one before.
Okay.
She's just looking at the metal. Okay. And she's kind of rubbing it, and then the next shot is her hugging Rey,
which I think are two separate instances.
I think it is two separate instances, and JJ talked about today that they were able to use stuff from A Force Awakens and The Last Jedi to have Carrie in the movie, but her looking at the metal and then her hugging Rey and Rey's crying, that hug is almost like a goodbye kind of thing to me. Like she's going, like Rey has to leave and she doesn't want to. She's crying and I
kind of felt like it was more of a you're carrying on the Skywalker legacy now kind of thing. Again, an amount of time has lapsed. So she's not crying over the fact that Luke is dead or that Han is dead. That's happened.
Yeah. It's almost like a remembrance. And then then she's kind of hugging Rey as I may not see you again, but I'm gonna say goodbye to you. And Rey, I think, is understanding that too with her connection to the Force. Both of their connections to the Force and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe.
It would make complete sense. We get another voiceover says, "We will always be with you" from Luke, which is kind of an interesting point to put it in. And that voiceover is this hero shot of Rey, Finn, Poe, BB-8, Chewie, and C-3PO on a planet. And it's this really cool hero shot of the six of them on the screen together. It's awesome. I want this as a poster in my house. And we're back. Technical difficulties. We're talking about the hero shot of the six of them together on some, it's like grass plains or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of they talked about in the panel today that all the major characters are on an adventure together.
Yes. Yeah.
And so they're definitely off looking for something or something, which you think is them probably trying to find something. And then the next shot is that looking over their shoulders into this bay, and there's the saucer section of the Death Star in the background.
Right.
And so now all everything's out the window now, right? Okay, so we're on what I think it is they're on a journey for Sith or Jedi artifacts. There's a big part of there's a big part of both Battlefront with Luke. The Battlefront 2 game with Luke, he's on the search for Jedi artifacts. It's also part of the A Certain Point of View book. There's also stuff in there in the Legends of Luke Skywalker. They talk about that. They also talk about in the Aftermath series about tracking down Sith artifacts and using masks and lightsabers and stuff like that were owned by Sith and corrupting the youth and stuff like that. So I would think that that's kind of a reoccurring theme. All of this is going on, and there's a voiceover going on, and it's no one is ever really gone. So tying into what Luke was saying to Leia at the end of The Last Jedi with the dice on crate, and all of that stuff. And then it fades to black. And you're like, huh, that's an interesting place to leave it. And then you start hearing, and it's Palpatine giggling.
Yep.
Okay. Then I'll get into the whole Palpatine thing in a second. And then we get the Star Wars symbol. It's blue.
Yep.
We had yellow for Force Awakens. We had red for The Last Jedi. And now it's blue. And then we get The Rise of Skywalker as the title.
Yep.
So a whole bunch in there, and we don't know jack or shit.
Right. And potentially some of it could be subversion, right?
Yes, I believe there's a couple of shots in there. There's one the Adventure Time with Pin. That's
we're
shipping them. That's
they ship
Pin.
them. They ship themselves. So
they
we're
do
shipping
ship
them
themselves
with Pin.
Finn and Poe. Pin. Finn is holding Rey's staff, so I'm thinking that shot is actually a misdirect too.
Okay.
Because you don't show a shot like that without people starting to question why does Finn have the staff, although Rey's got a lightsaber and a blaster.
Right. So what do we think?
Uncivilized.
What planet do we think that the Death Star is on? Because I know we had this conversation briefly over text.
So the only thing that really makes sense is Endor.
So the problem I have with that is it is called the Jungle Planet of Endor.
Right.
And they are not in the jungle.
That's not in jungle. Well, it's not. I don't think it's Yavin either. Yavin 4, because it's jungly there too. So unless there was another planet in the Endor area
where it actually fell to,
where it actually got sucked to. So in the Battlefront 2 game, part of the game is Infernal Squad looking up and watching the Death Star explode. And so if you have this connective tissue with all this other stuff going on, it would make the most sense that it's Endor, especially since you had Palpatine giggle there. The last place Palpatine was actually seen was on the Death Star over Endor. Yeah. The Death Star saucer section is now. So
he could have beamed down.
Well, he got the last scene we see is Palpatine falling through the whatever that was.
Right. Except my answer to that is he's a super uber Force user. He's not a Jedi. He's a super uber Force user. So he could have just glided himself down.
Well, if we learned anything from Last Jedi, you can force field yourself through space.
Right. Well, yeah. Can we not do that again?
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying that is part of
him
canon
to Superman like they did with Leia.
So the two things that I want to speculate responsibly about, stealing lines from the Force Center guys, and this will be another conversation I'll have with Josh when we do a full Rebels Files episode on just the trailer. We'll be doing a lot of stuff over the next few weeks. Palpatine in Aftermath and in Battlefront 2 talked about cloning himself and doing cloning. And he also had these outposts of watchtowers, essentially watchtowers in the Aftermath series that were places of worship for Sith energy. And one of the major ones was on Jakku.
Okay.
So, and the final big battle in the Aftermath series before most of the Empire goes to the outer reaches in unknown space was over Jakku. That's why we get the Star Destroyers and stuff, all
debris,
the stuff and everything. Yeah. So you have all this connective tissue between Jakku and also with Palpatine and Jakku and knowing all these different things. Like, I've read a bunch of stuff and I've already talked to a bunch of people on the Facebook page. How are they going to bring Palpatine back? Well, I'm going to be that guy.
He could be a Force ghost.
It could be a Force ghost. It could be a Sith Force ghost. It could be his clone.
He could be occupying Kylo's body.
There you go.
Because
he was puppeteering Snoke the whole time.
Right. One of Screen Junkie's other theories was that Kylo, it was, I think they were joking, but was that Kylo's actually being, having his body snatched by the dark side.
That would actually, if you're going to go down that path, that would make more sense of why he struggles with the battle between light and dark so much.
Yeah, he's actually a sleeper spy for the light side.
I really don't want them to redeem Kylo. I want Kylo to either be
and for from the trailer, he is not.
No, they fixed his mask. They show him.
Looks
on a
like his sword was fixed too. It didn't look like it was doing the kind of sparky thing.
In the one shot where he's running through the forest, he turns his hand and kills somebody with the pommel.
Yeah,
and so it might have been sparky. It might have been, but
it
was very short, and any stills have been kind of. The stills, though, I have one still I'm going to add here, but everything else has been kind of blurry that I've been able to find with that shot. But that idea of Palpatine controlling Snoke, who is controlling Kylo, I really like that, but I don't want Kylo redeemed. Is really what I really
right. And I mean, you can do that scenario without actually redeeming Kylo.
Right. And
go
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. The other thing is the rise of Skywalker. Now. There's been a bazillion theories out there, and you can search the YouTubes all you want and Reddit and everything else. Google's. Rey is Kenobi. She's a Palpatine. She's a Skywalker. She's all these different things, and then they. Like we were saying, technical difficulties. It's a Friday. Rey could be a Skywalker, Palpatine, Kenobi. They kind of leaned into the idea that she is no one a lot in The Last Jedi, and I really like that concept because the idea that Luke was really nobody until he got told that he was a Skywalker. He was and nobody. I mean, anybody can be the most powerful person in the universe. Kind of thing.
I don't think they should make her a Skywalker, any of that family.
Right.
Just because you need to shut it down. If this is truly the end, you need to shut it down.
About that
because if you make her a Skywalker or in any way related, then for the next 20 years, people are going to be waiting for another set of 3 movies in the Skywalker.
Right. And
series.
And I expect that's going to happen 10 or 12 years down the line. We'll get the next evolution of the Star Wars.
I think there's enough content that you don't need to do that.
I agree.
You can
I agree, but I think
things.
They'll come back around to it, and we'll build another Death Star, and it'll be the Fourth Order.
I think it can be something brought up, but I mean, once Leia's dead, Luke's dead, Kylo is the only Skywalker left.
Right. Now, there is a thought process that I'm going to go with, at least for right now, until I learn more, and maybe there might be some more books and stuff like that. But the idea of killing off Jedi and Sith and using those words and that kind of thing.
Right.
Instead of having Jedi, you just call everyone who's a Force user a Skywalker. And so now you have a light side Skywalker and a dark side Skywalker, and Skywalker is what the Force, as a person, that's what you're, as a Force user, you're called a Skywalker. Because
it's confusing.
It does seem a little confusing, but it's very interesting because in the second Thrawn book, Alliances, Thrawn and Anakin. Because it's a book that goes back and forth between Thrawn and Anakin and Thrawn and Vader. Thrawn and Anakin have this mission, and in the Chiss ascendancy race, they actually their children are Force sensitive, and as you get older and older and older, you lose that Force sensitivity. Mm-hmm. But they don't have navigation. And so, because there's so much stuff in the unknown reaches, so they use children as Force users as their navigators on their ships.
Okay.
And they call them by some unpronounceable name by me, but essentially it comes down to Skywalker. So the name is essentially they are essentially skywalking. So they're Skywalkers, and Thrawn kind of makes a joke about that Anakin flies the ship. Spoilers for Thrawn Alliances. Anakin flies the ship for a while and uses the Force to get them out of a situation. and he's a Skywalker. And so that kind of
Right.
the idea leaning into Force users or Skywalkers, I like that idea. I really like that idea. So there's a possibility. Those are the two things that I'm going with for right now. It's actually Palpatine's clone. I'm just going with that right now. And if this is going to be the end of the entire saga, you have to bring in prequel stuff. You have to bring in, Lando and Chewie and stuff like that from the middle three, and then.
Okay.
Stuff.
This is about the trailer, not about the whole movie.
I know. We're gonna
So
go off on a
back
tangent.
to the trailer.
But
one thing that
go ahead. No, go ahead.
one thing that I noticed, and we went back and rewatched them, I was specifically thinking of the teaser trailer for 7. We went back and rewatched teaser trailer for 7, 8, and then 9, and they are very similar, which could be Disney, right? But the 7 and 9, the two teaser trailers are very similar. They start with kind of a close-up face shot. It's, in 7, it's Finn, and he's breathing hard, and it's Rey, and she's in the desert, and she's breathing hard. And then there are, while the shots are not the same, the feel is definitely the same. And then there's some racing around, and then there's the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
And then
there's Kylo.
And then, there's some more like action and some kind of traditional Star Wars-y feel, or you see something or whatever.
Right.
And so they were go back and rewatch the
I might do a where you overlay all three of them on the same screen together and kind of piece them together.
But that's what I thought after watching it the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really a lot like the teaser trailer for 7.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is our thoughts, our breakdown as we see it right now for the Rise of Skywalker. We could go on for another 20, 30
I'm sure
minutes.
there's a million little things in there that we missed, and the internet will be dissecting it for the next 7 months, 6 months,
252 days or something like that as of right now. So yeah, math. So what did you guys think of our breakdown? What do you think of this trailer? What are your fan theories? Do you think Palpatine's a clone? Do you think Rey is a Skywalker? Do you think Lando brings back Lobot? It's a legitimate question. We want to know. Leave us a comment, like this video, share with all of your friends. Help us out by subscribing to the channel and helping us out on Patreon. We are working towards a goal there, so every little bit helps. You can enter for $1. $1. And we're also on all the social media stuff. That is all down here in the description on the bottom. And now I get to go edit all the things. And until next time, this is how we do it when we do Force Center.
I know.
I'm one with the Force.
And the Force is with me.